Hello. Beautiful to see you. Genius. It's oneness evolving here out on my front lawn with the building construction guys or the earthwork guys next door, so that's the machinery you can hear. But I'm going to show you the garden because it's so gorgeous. This is the corner where it's all happening. This bush is, well, it's a shrub. But look, it's happening over here. It's beautiful. And it smells gorgeous, and look at the salmon coloured lotus lake pelargonium is what it's called, and then you've got all the purple and pink and blue cinerarias. It's just fabulous. And we've got lots of coriander running to seed here, but I find it beautiful, so I let it do that, because then it comes up every year and you can have some to eat and the rest of it fills the ground. So plan with no drawbacks. And the nice thing that's happening, I'm going to try and stay out of the sunshine, is that we've got some roses. And my little miniature roses that have been miserable for years are hopefully going to do better this year, because their space is a bit more organised and they're not being choked out. And look at this. Isn't it beautiful to see this little sweetheart rose against the purple cineraria? Just the colours are fabulous. And then up here we have iceberg, which is out and looking gorgeous. It's a grand old rose. This rose is probably 30 or 40 years old. I got it from a friend. Planted it in here, and you know, it's not the most vigorous, but it's doing well. And it just never fails every year. And then we've got the fuchsia, which is just going strong. I'm going to have to prune it eventually because it'll get leggy. Oh look at the hovering little miracle there. That's beautiful. Fluttering little fly, sparkling in the sun. And the compassion rose is doing its thing. I did stake it because we had a big wind, and one of the little flower heads had already broken off, but I got most of them before anything went wrong, and so we're going to have these beautiful flowers, which also smell really good, and it makes beautiful buds. Look at that one. Isn't it fabulous? So between the purples and the pinks and the reds and the glorious whites and the smell, it's just lovely. And look at this. Cecile Brunner is the other name for the sweetheart rose, and it's beautiful. So I'm really just enjoying the colours out here, and yeah, it's noisy, but that's life. I'll show you. See, there's diggers over there. The cherry tree has actually still got a few flowers on it, but mostly they're done. And it's becoming that wonderful thing that catches the light and makes dappled shade. And I love it right through the seasons. It's just beautiful. Sunlight on cherry leaves. And the last few magnolia flowers are still there. They're starting to look a bit tatty and tired, but they still smell good. Here's a nice one. That's all fresh and new. So this is the garden. This is the garden. And see, some of these are getting a bit old now, but look at those colours. Aren't they fabulous? I don't get tired of these. I never get tired of them. And look, the blue ones in the background. It's just, I'm really just so grateful for this beauty this year. And look, my Deutzia is not very happy. It's got a bit old. I've had it for 20 years and I think it's just got a bit choked in the middle. I'm probably going to take it out and plant something else. Probably turn around and look at the far end of the garden. One of those fabulous white shrubs that just covers itself in flowers and looks so good and smells even better. So this is the view that I'm really enjoying at the moment. So I'm going to finish with this. And then we're going to go inside and I'm going to tell you what I've been doing all morning for God of me. And if you wonder, because you haven't tuned in before, excuse me, walking through the garden here and pulling out something that has to go right now. If you wonder what God of me is, God of me is a project, a thing that kind of owns me, that I just work away at, because it's a bit like if you walk out of the house and you know you're going on a journey and you know there's a destination but you're not even quite sure what the destination is. that's a bit what this journey is like for me. Because what's really happened for me in the last 5 or so years is that I've encountered information that has changed my life and has helped me to change my life and has made a massive difference in my life. And along with that, I've recognised that there are people around the world that don't have access to that information. You know what I've forgotten? My little pad. My little list of songs that tells me what I want to tell you, that what I did today. So I'm going to go and get that while we talk. Wait one, please, caller. Here you go. I've got my little list of songs now. And I'm going to go back into the lounge where I can leave my husband in peace. He's busy sharing the video out, which is what the service that he does for me each Wednesday. And I'll tell you what I've been doing. So the point of God of me is that this information, which has totally changed my life, there's a whole lot of people around the world that just can't get access to it. They might just be too poor. Hi, Robin. Lovely to see you. They might be too poor to have a credit card or even an internet connection. But if they've got a cell phone, if they've got a mobile phone, I want them to be able to access this information. And so all I know is that I am kind of brain dumping everything and I'm writing because it's going to go online and that's it. So I'm writing. And you might think, what the heck am I doing talking about the structure of matter and solids and how things get organised by this great principle that organises the universe. But what's happened is that as I've gone along, because I have for more than 5 years now been studying the work and practicing the work of Dr. Joe Dispenza, and it's changed my life, it's healed my body, it's helped me heal myself. And hello, gorgeous people, it's great to see you. And it's all been very, very cool, and I'm still doing that every day. And I keep studying and I keep learning. It's not like I'm done with that. I'll never be done with that. It's the work of a lifetime to change who I've been and to become who I want to be. And I spent about a year writing about why it's so hard to change. Because really, our bodies get accustomed to who we're used to being. And when we want to be somebody else, if we're used to being sad and we want to be happy, you would think that you should just be able to change your mind. But in fact, your body fights you because your body actually gets used to being sad. And bodies get used to what they get used to. And when you want them to change, they don't want to change because in nature, you want things to not change every 5 minutes. You know, it's called homeostasis. The body has a homeostasis and it wants to maintain that. And if your homeostasis has been that you've been angry for the last 5 years, if you suddenly want to start feeling happy or peaceful or whatever it is, something else different, you've actually got to change what your body's used to. And that's really why change is one of the big reasons why change is so difficult. Because we think, I should be able to change my mind. Yeah, but you've got to change your body. And to do that, you've got to change how you think and how you act and how you feel. And you've got to do that for long enough that your body gets a different idea and so do you. So I spent a year writing about that. And then I started to want to add more information to my model of the world, to my understanding of all of the stuff that I learned from Dr. Joe. I wanted to understand more about, well, how does this manifestation thing actually frickin' work? Because it kind of drove me crazy. Because, I mean, people are doing amazing things, right? They're healing their body. They're manifesting objects out of nothing. They're creating the lives that they want, which can be completely different from the lives that they had. And I know because I'm in the middle of that and I understand that. And, you know, there's law of attraction and there's all the people who've talked about so many different ways of doing it. And that's all grand. But I found myself tremendously frustrated by a feeling that there ought to be some kind of lever or button that I could push that would make things happen, I don't know, faster, better, differently. I just had this frustration in me about why is it that I can't change matter with my mind? And so kind of quite by accident, because I was looking for more information to add to my understanding of what I learned from Dr. Joe, I happened upon the work of Nassim Haramein, and it's a bit of a rabbit hole. You got to go down it and absorb it and get to understand it. But it was like, oh my God, this makes so much sense. And more importantly, the math and the science that he's doing is backing it up. It's like it's practical, it's real. And so I've been unpacking that, because if you want to manifest something in your life, if you want to change matter with your mind, it might really help to understand what matter is. So that's what I'm embarking on, and that's why, I look at the participation or otherwise of people in what I'm sharing and think, oh, well, it's okay. I just have to do this. I have to do it for myself, because I want to understand. I want to unpack this. So what I've been writing about is the fact that all the stuff that we think of as solid, it isn't actually solid. It really isn't. Matter is made up of energy. And it's energy that spins in little, toroid, the little spinning. It's like, think of a donut. That is actually a toroid, but this is a toroid where there's no hole in the center of the donut. It's just, like the donut's still there, but there's no hole in the middle. It just spins around its own axis. And little pieces of spinning energy in that shape all aggregate together to make matter. And it's energy. And it sticks together because it gets organized. Really, this is what I'm finding out. This is what I'm learning. It gets organized. Little pieces of spinning energy. Many little pieces of spinning energy. They get together and they get organized. Like a school of fish. Moves as one organism. Like that big flock of birds, the murmuration of starlings. It moves as one organism. It gets organized. Everybody's dancing to the same beat. It's the same phenomenon at this really, really tiny level. It gets organized. It gets coherent. And what I'm understanding, and it took me a while to wrap my head around this. This is what I've been writing about this week. And I'll go through, there's my notes, right? But this is what I've been writing about this week. Is that the only difference between this stuff that's solid and this stuff that isn't, or, even, there's still gas in this space. But if you go out past the atmosphere, past planet Earth, and, there's lots of space out there that's apparently got nothing in it. It's vacuum, it's void, it's empty. But it's not empty. The only difference between what we can measure and touch and, hold gas in a bottle and whatever here, and that empty void out there is made of the same stuff, but it's not organized. Really? You mean this whole place, the universe, is just made of all these spinning little units of energy, and some of them are organized like a school of fish, and they get so organized that they lock together and they make protons, and the protons make, you get electrons as well, and they get together and they make atoms, and then the atoms form into molecules, and then molecules form into chemicals, and you get chemicals that make physical structures, and, eventually you get planets and you get life. But all of that is the same as the stuff that's whizzing around in the void. But the stuff in the void never got organized enough to turn into matter. That to me is just, I don't know, it made my jaw drop. Not literally, but in my mind I'm thinking, ay caramba. It's all the same stuff. And I know, we're all one. Yeah, sure. But now the science is actually showing it. And to me, that makes a big difference to actually understand that this is really how it is. And the point, why this matters for manifestation is that, have you ever looked at a picture of a neuron, right? It's got a thing in the middle and it's got bits that go off the side and it connects with other things. Well, if you look in the cosmos, you can see exactly the same structure, but it's a nebula and it's millions and trillions and gazillions wide. It's huge. Hi, Prosper God's Gift. Great to see you. Hi, everybody who's here. I love having you around. So another thing, if you look, there are pictures and you can find these on the web. Google Maps, Google Space, Google, they take pictures and you see the delta of a river, and it's like, it looks like water running down a hill, which it is, but it's a very specific pattern. And if you look at that, it looks exactly like our blood circulation system in our body. It's the same pattern. And if you look at the design in lungs, you will see that in the growth patterns of trees. The same patterns are organizing everything, and it's at all scales. It doesn't matter whether it's at the level of the cell or subatomic particles or universes and galaxies and superclusters. It just doesn't matter. It's all the same pattern. Now that pattern, well, maybe if we could learn to work with that pattern, we might have an opportunity to change the way that matter shows up in our lives. That's what I'm getting to. And by the way, I don't exactly know how that works. Dr. Joe Dispenza has worked out a lot about how that works for healing your body. But there are so many stories of masters who could pull matter out of thin air, and they didn't sweat doing it. They just had a thought, and there it was. And I can't help, there's something in me that says we should be able to remember how to do this. So honestly, that's my curiosity. I'm just curious to see where this leads. I don't know if I'll ever figure it out. But hey, finding out some really cool stuff while I'm going along. So this is what I wrote to tell you about. A solid is not solid. It's just made of spinning little pieces of energy that have got organized. And how did it get organized? That is the question. And, when people ask Nassim Haramein about that, we have this problem because some people say that the universe is organized because God does that. And on the other side, you have the people who say, no, the universe is random. And it goes back to something that happened, I think, in the 16th century, where a guy called Descartes actually needed to split science away from spirituality. He needed to leave something with the church and put something over here with science because because they were getting in the way of his research, and he wanted the cadavers to do dissections and figure out about the human body. And so what he said was, okay, everything from the neck up, the brain, the mind, that's spirit, that's church. The church can have the mind and the emotions and all those thinky, intangible things, too complicated to organize. And science can have the body. Science can have matter, and spirit, church, whatever, can have non-matter. And there was a really tidy division which allowed science to proceed, and that's cool. But what we're finding now is that there isn't actually any difference between mind and matter. There's just this stuff that's either organized or not. So something is telling everything what to do, and it's a pattern. And I'm going sideways now because this is just, when I think about a pattern that's informing matter, I think about cymatics. That thing where if you have a metal plate and you've got a speaker under it, and you put sand on the metal plate, and you play a certain note underneath that speaker, it's going to vibrate the plate, and the sand will make a very regular pattern. You change the sound, it makes a different pattern. You change the sound, you change the note again, it makes another pattern. And the thing is that this stuff that is disorganized in empty space and organized when there's matter, when there's gas, when there's liquid, when there's something that's, there as opposed to not there, it responds to frequency too. And guess what? Each and every single one of us puts out all the time. Frequency and information through how we think and how we feel and what we do and who we are. There's got to be a connection. So this is what I'm exploring. So let me go on with my thing. So organized PSUs, Planck spherical units, okay? PSUs. I talk about this weird thing called a Planck spherical unit, which is this little spinning unit of energy, and it's got a black hole running through the middle. It's a torus, right? I talk about those because what I've learned from physicist Nassim Haramein is that, and the maths that he's discovered proves it. And nobody's been able to find a hole in the paper that was published in October, November last year. It's been downloaded more than 50,000 times by a lot of people. No one's found a real mistake in it. They found a few typos, a few things, change this letter, this whatever. But nobody's been able to pick a hole in it. It's real. These tiny little Planck spherical units, which are really, 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 really small, make up protons, which make up all of the matter in our universe. But it doesn't stop there. The Planck spherical units make up the protons when they get organized. When they're not organized, they make what's called a plasma. And a plasma is the fourth state of matter. And most of us don't really realize that there are four states of matter. We think that there's solid, liquid, and gas. Actually, there's solid, liquid, gas, and plasma. And if you have a solid and you add energy, it's going to melt and turn to a liquid like ice to water. And if you keep heating the water, you're going to get steam. That's the gaseous form of water. And then if you got to contain it, but if you contain that water gas, that vapor, and you put it under pressure and you heat it some more, what happens is that the water molecules, you got an oxygen in the middle and a hydrogen here and a hydrogen here, they break apart. And you just end up with oxygen running around and hydrogen running around. And each one of those particles, because it's not all stuck together, the hydrogen naturally has a negative charge. There's two little hydrogen atoms, ions, running around with negative charges now. And they want to connect up with something that's positive so they can be balanced. But they've got so much energy that they can't link hands. It's like, a swarm of bees is all much too fast to connect. And the oxygen atom, which actually is way, way bigger than the hydrogen, it's become an ion because it's lost the two electrons that it was sharing with the hydrogen. And now it's got a double positive charge. And it can't make a connection either because there's just so much energy that it's like, whoa, we're whizzing around all over the place. We're in plasma. We can't make connections. So you have all of these ionized, highly charged particles in this highly charged system. And it's not anything, it's a plasma. But it's very electrically conductive, and it also behaves like water. It behaves like a fluid. It obeys the laws of fluid dynamics. That was another huge thing. One day I might get to explain that, why that's so exciting. Believe me, it is. So the point being, and if I say to you that we are wandering around in a plasma of Plancks, and some of that plasma of Planck spherical units, right, Plancks, we're wandering around in a plasma of Plancks. And some of those little Plancks have got organized enough to make matter. About 5% or 4% of everything that's in the universe is matter. The rest of it is disorganized. That's pretty amazing to me. And something is organizing it all. And there needs to be organized and disorganized, because if everything was organized, it'd all be solid. We wouldn't be doing anything much. We'd just be, So, it's amazing. This just blows my mind. There's so much about it that I don't yet understand. There's so much I'm learning. But there's got to be a connection here between us and this, because it goes right through us. You think your body's solid? No. Most of it is space, and that space is Planck plasma. And there's so much energy in it that if we could extract the energy from 1 cubic centimeter of that stuff, we could run our planet for thousands and thousands of years. We'd never need to, no power generation. That'd be it. Just 1 cubic centimeter of that Planck plasma has enough energy to run our planet for thousands and thousands of years. So much energy, so much, and inside your body, inside mine. I mean, it's wow to me. Wow. So there's got to be a connection between this, because this is the stuff that everything's made of, and it responds to resonance, and we create resonance. And so we ought to be able to create some change in our resonance that's going to create how this matter and the non-matter shows up in our life, and how our life as a whole is. And I know, because I've seen my life change, and I'm watching my life change, that as I change my resonance, my life does change. As I change my energy, my state of being, and lots of different words for the same thing, my life does change. Sometimes it really surprises me. It's really good. It's like, oh my God, where did that come from? Well, I know where it came from. I created it by changing who I'm being. But this is what this stuff has to do with manifestation, and that's why I'm writing God of Me, because the way I'm writing it, it is simple enough that anyone who starts at the beginning and works their way through, and it's going to be fun, and there are going to be pictures, and I'm hoping that most of them will be cartoons and there'll be humour, because my husband has that skill, and I can draw too, I realised. That's a whole other thing, is to illustrate all of this. I finally realised I can't do the two in parallel. Just write oneness, write. And there'll come a point when I've written enough, it will get into something else, and then there'll be a website or something that shows up online. It could all happen on my Patreon, which is a good place for me to finish, because I've pretty much covered what's in my little notes. And if you're thinking, what the heck is she talking about? But gee, that sounds interesting. There is a link in the description that takes you to my Patreon, and there's a lot of good stuff there that you can have just by following me for free. If you'd like to support me for $5 a month, or 10 if you feel excited, then there are special things that I create and deliver just for my patrons, and I would love to share that space with you. In the meantime, I'm so grateful to have shared the space with you right now. Thank you so much for hanging on, for liking, sharing, subscribing, whatever you want to do if you're on YouTube, and I will be back next week with more. So until then, lots of love.